coming up?
Human wanting to connect with another person, that's a fundamental human needs that don't change. And dating apps, we thought that they promised to give us that. I wanted it to be more scalable. And so I was like, oh, maybe it can be a mobile like dating app. But it's a lot harder to make it into a dating app because it means that you need to keep them engaged. That was the realization. It's like people are interested in talking to somebody for a long time.
Yeah.
And they are open to sharing their stories, and they're still interested in meeting in person so they can form connection. Because we are planning to launch in January, in a
Mm-hmm.
year's time, I'm hoping that.
Meiku, welcome. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you, Kieran?
Yeah, I've been pretty good. I've been pretty good. Things have been going all right. I mean, things are going all right. I mean, yeah, can't really sort of complain. I mean, it's getting towards that time of the year now where we're headed out of winter and we're headed into spring. That's actually a really good thing there. Or we're currently going to be already be in spring, so it's actually a really good thing there. I mean, don't really like the winter months as much because it's getting cold, but at least now we know that things there are starting to warm up.
Yeah, I mean, I did like winter in Australia, but because it wasn't raining much, but this
Yep.
year was an exception. So I am looking forward to the spring.
Yeah, that the yeah. I mean, like this winter, it has been a little bit more colder and also a lot more, as you sort of said there, been raining a little bit more than usual and all that there. So, but the coldness has been very, very, very cold, especially early in the morning if you want to go out for a run or if you want to go out for a jog. If you are going to do that there, wear winter clothing if you go.
I don't remember the last time I went for running with all that rain.
Yeah, oh no, because like earlier I think because we met at Open Coffee and our second interaction I actually said there that um a friend of mine, Robin, she actually gave me some running tips and whatnot. And the funniest thing was that she actually said to me, make sure you stretch and make sure you wear proper warm clothing. Well, the silly me on the king's birthday, I decided to wear, shorts and well, I'll put it like this here. Attire that's more suited there for summer than it would be for winter. And as soon as and it was around 3 degrees early in the morning, I'm like, yeah, I can definitely sort of feel my calves sort of telling me, yeah, no, you should have worn warmer clothing. So, but at least on this part here, it's a lot better that we're getting more and more towards the summer, which is actually a good thing. So
Yeah,
that means, we can don't have to rug ourselves up. We can start wearing a lot more looser clothing and all that sort of stuff there. So that's a
yeah,
good thing.
yeah. I'm excited.
Yep. So May, so for those that don't know you and whatnot, tell us tell us who's May Koo.
Right. So, hello, everybody. I'm May. I am the founder of Reev, a dating app that I am planning to launch in Sydney next January 2026. But before that, I used to be a market researcher. I had market research background for 10 years, and I also have multinational background. I was born and raised in Korea, then moved to China and Hong Kong, and I moved to Australia about 5 and 6 years ago.
Oh wow. Wow. So I would ask, like, so it goes from market research to then starting Reeve and whatnot. Like, I got to ask, how did that process actually start? Because it seems like two totally different, um, sort of fields. I mean, like you wouldn't have pictured it, going from market research to then a dating app or whatnot.
You actually looked up like how many people from market research became a founder. It's
Mm,
really rare
yes.
because of the nature of, how market researchers function. So that's
Hmm.
quite interesting. But I think it all kind of goes back to who I am as a person and how I grew up, the things that I value, and like the experiences I've gone through, of course.
Hmm.
So yeah, as I said, I'm Korean, and I spent most of my time in Korea. I moved out of Korea when I was 17. So
Okay.
yeah, like the majority of childhood was in Korea. And I don't know if you know, but the education system in Korea is really, really tough.
Mm.
I used to go to school in high school and finish at 10 p.m. And then I would go to this like after school, like cram school called Hagwon. And I would finish at like 1 in the morning and then sleep at 2 in the morning and then wake up at 5 or 6 and go to school and repeat.
Jesus Christ, that's like you're going on like you're going on what 3 4 hours sleep and then you going like what the hell? I mean like if that was me doing 3 4 hours of like just 3 or 4 hours of sleep, I'd be running on fumes by the time it gets to by the time it gets to the end of the week.
Yeah, it's really tough. I remember that it was the toughest time of my life. But we were always like told that if you sleep 1 hour more, your wife's face will change, like your future wife's face will change. So you need to work harder, you need to
Hmm.
sleep less so you can be more successful and have more beautiful wife. That was like the saying that we were always hearing.
Wow, I mean, well, okay, well then in which case there, maybe I should sleep less then. But that there I find very, very fascinating. But I hear, I mean, that's something there as to which I sort of hear in sport because I used to have a bit of a sports business background, but I also keep hearing, like athletes one of them would say there that they would wake up early, like a lot early in the morning, do a morning session, then have breakfast, have another morning session. I think I saw also a video from Kobe Bryant where he like when he was alive. I think as to how he said there, how he wake up at 3 in the morning, train from 4 till 6, have breakfast, train from like 10 till like 12, and then have like two more training sessions in the afternoon and evening, and it just sort of gets you ahead of the rest and whatnot. So I mean the whole studying so you can get ahead, I think that there's fine, but to make sure um the correlation with beauty, that I'm
Yeah.
not really so sure with that there. I'm gonna leave it there. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna comment on that.
But yeah, well, I wouldn't really say that really helped me grow into the person I am today.
Mhm.
When the education system is so tough, you don't really think about like why a lot,
Okay.
because you're kind of like memorizing a lot of things. And then I think the success path was kind of defined by the society. A lot of
Mhm.
people were studying hard so that they can go to like top universities in Korea, and then they can work for like big companies like Samsung or LG, and
Yep.
then you can marry someone who's also as successful and have a happy family,
Okay.
after.
Yeah.
So it was pretty well defined. So you don't have to think too much about what you want or who you are. So that was how Korea was to me.
Okay. So then after that, there, I think you said there that you went Korea, also Hong Kong, China, and all that sort of, and all those other sorts of places there, and then you not long came here to Australia 5
Uh,
years ago, 6 years ago, I think.
December 2019. So that was about
Wow. That,
five to
that
six years ago.
Wow, that was
COVID.
during yes, that was during the good times. During the good times. I remember those days like it was yesterday. I miss those days. Pre-COVID, pre-lockdown, pre-everything. So yep, I mean, but so when you came here to Australia, what happened? So what happened there when you then came to Australia? Because I'm just sitting here, I'm going, like I'm still wrapping my head around the fact that market research to then Reev. It's like it's still like I mean I'm looking at it, I'm going, it's one of those fascinating because you said there yourself, then a lot of market researchers, they're not really a lot of founders of it. So I think that one, obviously, like you're pioneering, but or not pioneering, but you're paving the way a little bit. But it's also just something there as to which, like I'm just sitting there, I'm going like it's something there as to what Peter Doe from Open Coffee, who I met, and I have conversations with Pete almost nearly every week, and all that there. He's in nursing, and he was a nurse, and he went from nursing into health tech, and and then is also an entrepreneur. And I even asked him this question there as well, like what made him go from nursing to that
Mm.
there. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, I do think that I was always entrepreneurial. Like,
Hmm.
I'm very problem solving. So whenever I see problems, I try to solve. Um, but I had a stable career, and I got into market research because I just really like human behavior. And the reason why I like understanding human behavior is because of my cultural background. Moving
Yep.
from Korea to China to Hong Kong and Australia, it really opened up all the things like the new culture and like
Hmm.
making friends around the country, like different countries. You need to understand them to be close to them. Like
Hmm.
you can't be friends if you don't understand them, right? So I was
Yes.
forced to really ask questions and do research and then just find out why. Um, so there were a lot of culture shocks that I had to go through. That was just so normal in Korea, but that was not
Mm.
normal outside, or vice versa. So
Like
that's
what?
why, like for example, I think divorce was
Yep.
like the biggest failure of family. Like if my parents said that they were going to divorce, then it I would have thought that it was the end of my life as a child.
Mm.
But I had friends who had divorced parents and they were still happy and they respected their decisions. To me, that was such a culture shock.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, so that's when I started asking, like, oh, whatever we thought was true,
Hmm.
may not be true.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's actually. I mean, like when you put it like that there, that actually like I'm just actually sort of like just a little bit in shock with that there because like but I can also sort of see because Matt Ainsworth and also Nathan who I've also spoken to previously, like they do say that it's a lot more conservative over in places like Japan and in Korea. So but yeah, I mean I actually hadn't thought of it. That's the way as how you just sort of put it there. But because you study human behavior, since you've been here, the human behavior of an Aussie, of an Australian, thoughts on that there so far, and what would you if you had your market research hat on, or if you had your studying um of human behavior on, what would your observations tell you?
I would say Australia, like quite, I have limited exposure because I haven't really spent a lot of time outside Sydney.
Yep,
And Sydney is really international. You come across almost anybody from anywhere. So I think
that's
that
good to
kind of
know.
makes, yeah, a lot of people in Sydney like very open-minded because you kind of
Mm,
have to. So I don't really feel the strong cultural trait that is so distinct from the
mm-hmm.
other culture. Because even in Hong Kong, there are lots of people from everywhere, and that's how you see that distinct culture. Especially also speaking different language makes that different trait of the culture. In Australia, people speak English, so the only thing that I really do say is that very like fitness oriented, like very healthy,
Mm.
waking up early, going to bed early, and exercising regularly, enjoying the sun, really like valuing the nature, which is really aligned with what I value,
Okay.
hence my stay here.
Yeah, of course, of course. Yeah, I mean, it's very. I think it's also got to do. I think with the going outside and the living of the nature. I mean, I can only speak from my personal experience, but I used to play cricket up until I was 22. So I would love to. The reason why I would love to play cricket was because you just got to be out in the field. At times there, you can sort of have a banter, have a chat there with the boys, with your teammates, and you can just sort of just like some of the fields there where I played at, they were just sort of like the outfield or the land or the bushland and all that there was just like amazing. It was like really good sceneries and all that there, and I think that there, I think that might have a little bit to do with like, like with Australia's sporting nature and, wanting to get out and, wanting to, do well in sport and, play the sports and also, yeah, just be, I won't say be one with nature. That's very, yeah. But yeah, just to sort of go out there and just sort of live the day as, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so pleasant to be outside in Sydney.
Yes.
So I understand.
Yeah, when you have normally good weather, I mean, like I know the weather today isn't as good. Where I am and whatnot, it looks very overcast and whatnot. So, and it has, as we spoke about earlier, it has been raining the past few months and very, very cold. But when it hits that spring, summertime, it gets to absolutely gorgeous weather to the point there where you just want to stay out.
Yeah, definitely.
So
So,
go on.
no, you go.
No, I was just about to say, so you say there that you want to sort of fix problems and that there is um what all entrepreneurs want to do. I'm gonna ask you
Yes.
I'm gonna ask you the elephant in the room then, because you are starting Reeve and you are starting um you are starting a dating app.
Yeah.
Problems with the current forms of dating apps right now. If you want, I mean, if from your observation and whatnot, from a founder's observation, and tell us a bit more about like when you, like, if you want to, a little bit more about Reeve, if you can.
So Reev is a dating app that really helps users through the journey of connection. There's
Yep.
no photo. It's just a conversation, live conversation using your voice and curiosity. So a lot of the dating apps, and I'm not gonna say all, a lot of dating
Yeah.
apps, like mainstream, like the most popular ones, they are very much photo based, and it just doesn't. I don't believe that it works well in human like brains and psychology, especially also because their benefit is the quantity and then the reach of the network that you can't usually get in your social circle.
Yep.
That's the benefit you get through dating apps, right? But because you think that you have so many options, and it is true, there are so many options these days, dating apps became the default option when you're looking for somebody. So almost everybody is going on dating apps when they are looking. So yes, the option, there are limited, like tons of options there. But because you think that they're all of your options, like you think that you have to go through them so fast, so people become impatient. And when you have to go through so fast, you do only pay attention to the strongest stimulus, which is the visual stimulus.
Yes.
So you just tend to not look at or think about all the other areas that may be more important to you, which is the case.
Mm. Yeah, I mean like the way as how you sort of described it there, I mean like one, expanding your social circle, or also two, just the numbers and all that there, because I think we actually said this here in a conversation when we met at either our first open coffee or our second open coffee meeting, where like I heard this podcast from on Diary of a CEO, where someone, I think Stephen actually said it there, where there was like, I think there was like a guy does 1 million swipes for 1,000. Mind you, I could be wrong with all the numbers. 1 million swipes for 1,000 matches for 100 conversations for one coffee or something like that. There, where I think we all sort of want that connection.
Yeah.
I think people there who are looking for love and all that sort of stuff, that they all want that connection. They all want to be close with someone. They want to build that connection, whether it's whether it's like through just through like your social group, through like friends and all that there, but they also want to go home to someone and say to them, how was your day, honey, or how was your day this year, love, or and all that there. So I think that there is something there, and look, you are right, like there are lots of numbers there on all like the dating apps. Not gonna name any, but there's like tons of them there where there's like you just don't seem to run out of numbers. I mean, like you just can't seem to run out of them. So it just sort of, it gets your hopes up, sort of thinking at the point there where it's like, I'll swipe right on this one or swipe left, because I know that the next one, because that there's going to be someone else after that.
Yeah. So I can echo your experience or the whatever you heard from the podcast,
Yep.
because I used to use dating apps a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
And what you said is also right that human wanting to connect with another person, that's a fundamental human needs that don't change. And dating apps, we thought that they promised to give us that, but it's
Yep.
not. From my experience, I also had to swipe maybe like tens of thousands of profiles, and then I'll probably get like 100 matches.
Mm.
And probably it was easier for me because I'm a woman.
Yes.
And then out of 100 matches, I'll probably only talk to 10. And that's because you can't really talk to everybody you match with. Like you will only talk to maybe those who are like maybe like best looking out of all, you know,
Yeah.
or who's just like better at keeping up.
Yep.
So I was still select there. And then out of 10, you only meet maybe one person on a date.
Yep.
And out of like even after that date, it doesn't mean that it turns into a relationship because there are a lot of other things that you also look at, like the way they talk in
Mm.
person or the way they are, I don't know, maybe whether this person was treating like the waiter right or not. You know, there are a lot of other
Yeah.
things that you can assess in person.
I mean, like I think that's also the bit there as to which what you just sort of nailed the I think you nailed it on the head there a little bit there because like when you're out on I think when you're out on a date or when you're out talking like with someone, that's where you sort of get to sort of know them a little bit as well. I mean, I think because like we've had a couple of conversations. For me, there are times there where I sort of talk either very, very fast, but then I can also then sort of talk very like either very, very long, or I can then just talk very, very slow at times. So I think, whereas like when I'm texting or whatnot, I can just sort of like text fast, but I talk, and it can be very, very different. So I think so I think that you, as you sort of said there, find someone there to match your energy. I think but I think in order to try and find the connection, obviously, you need to have more like you need to be able to sort of understand, like their clicks, do they match with you? Do like does their personality match yours? Because like it's all well and good to sort of say, yeah, look, you know what, this person here, good looking or whatever, but it's not but do they get on with you a lot more? And I think that's a lot. I think that's something there to which is very, very hard to sort of do just from a dating app where you have to sort of swipe left or right or tick this box or tick that box or press whatever um, in order to get what you need.
Yeah. So yeah, even I went through that, and that's when I was using in 2014 when dating apps were still quite new.
Hmm.
So the issue wasn't as bad as now. But I still had to go through it. So it made me impatient. It made me kind of settle with like someone that I probably didn't like, who probably wasn't the right person for me.
Yep.
And after that, I reflected why, and then I realized, oh, these dating apps are not helping me make the right decision. So I decided to not use dating apps when I moved to Australia.
Yep.
Then COVID happened.
That's that. Oh, damn. That is like one of the most biggest moments there that you'll ever just that's like one of the biggest middle fingers you'll ever sort of get there, to be honest, because it's like gonna say, okay, yep, look, like as I said, so they're not gonna use any dating apps when I come to Australia. A month later, yep, we're all in lockdown. Oh, great.
I had no friends. Like I had nobody. So I was like, oh
Oh,
geez, I have no other option.
yeah, exactly. Like you've had no other option. But you said there that you started using dating apps back in 2014,
Yeah.
and whatnot. Like, God, that was 11 years ago. I mean, like that's like wow. But from your experience, I mean, all the way from 2014 to when you started Reev, you said there that it didn't cause much of a problem back then. This is sort of, I think, a two-pronged question. What do you think has caused the problem to make it a lot more, to make it a little bit more difficult? But also, what are some of the changes that you sort of seen from back when it started to now? What are some problem or what are things there that you've sort of been seeing?
So I wouldn't say that the problems that we have now didn't exist back then. It was just a
Yep.
lot less.
Okay.
People were a lot more serious about dating apps. There were
Mm,
also stigma like, oh, if you're on dating apps, you must be desperate. So people were not everybody was getting on dating apps.
mm,
So like we knew that we couldn't reach everybody on dating apps. So people were still like reaching other people. Like in real life. Like
yep.
there were lots of people still dating in real life or meeting for the first time in real life. So that's why it was much better, I think. Whereas now, almost everybody is on dating apps. So no one is like approaching other people like
Yep.
outside because why they're gonna be on dating app if they're looking
Yes.
and why should I even risk getting rejected when I have so many more options on dating apps and there's so many dating app options too.
Yes, yes, exactly. I mean, like trying to approach someone. I mean, like that there. I mean, like you just sort of see like those movies where like you see someone there approaching like a woman in a bar, or like a girl approaching a guy in a bar, and whatnot. I mean, like you see like those in those movies. I mean, like nowadays you rarely see that. It's more like, okay, yep, yep, like not gonna approach it, because mostly, as to what you said there, like because of a lot more options. And I think also, as you sort of said there, like the stigma of it was, I think the stigma of it back then in 2014, as to what you sort of said there, might be desperate, but now it's sort of changed to which it's gone, to which is now gone to, almost everyone's used it. It actually takes me back to our fireside chat when we went to Open Coffee, where Chris sort of said, he actually said, like, we're the most connected group, we're like the most connected generation, through technology, and yet we're the loneliest, and like it, because Chris, he always sort of said that there, but it's just something there which I just sort of go, it wasn't until this conversation here where it's just sort of, I've just sort of now start it's just sort of piece the dots a bit more and more together, and also having more and more conversations there with you as well there, mate. So yeah, like it's a bit fascinating. So with Reeve, so can you sort of explain a little bit, like, obviously, like, you can't go into like full depth, oh, this is exactly what Reeve's going to do and all that sort of stuff there, but so it's basically, so what do you basically have? Obviously, like, you choose how do you choose sort of the profiles, or with the talking and all that sort of stuff there?
Okay, so there are a few things that I believe the dating app should do.
Hmm.
Um, One, as soon as photo gets introduced, then we get bias, and that bias is so strong. So I wanted to completely remove photos up front. So Reef starts by blind chat. Um, there can be two ways. Through a regularly scheduled speed dating event. So you get to be paired with random users who do meet your preference, basic preference, and then you talk to them for 5 minutes, and then you move on to the next person, and after that you decide, oh, did I enjoy the conversation with this person? And if it's a mutual yes, and then you move on to the next date that is scheduled, and there's no time limit there.
Okay. Oh,
And
go on. Yeah.
then, yeah, so that second, like, next date is still blind chat, but there's no time limit. So you get to really understand the other person, get a bit deeper, more intimate. Everything is private conversation. It's not a
Mm.
group discussion. And there's also an icebreaker. So then it helps you talk about things. You don't know anything about the other person, so you don't know what to talk about, right? So there are
Yes.
icebreakers. And then once you hit some milestones based on the duration of your chat, it unlocks video chat. So then you can really see the other person talking. And I, again, don't believe in photos. I think photos can be really deceiving, which is why I think video is a better option. So there will be a video chat. And then after that, you also get to decide, again, do I want to continue this connection with this person?
Yep.
And then if it's a mutual yes, the app prompts you to meet in person. And that's not over yet. You meet in person, and then after that, the app asks you, do you want to continue? Or do you want to have a final match with this person? So then the contact number will be shared at the end of the cycle.
Oh. Okay, yeah. I mean, like, I think the ways how you just sort of explained it there, I mean, it's Obviously obviously the way how I'm sort of picturing it, I think I said this to you at our first meetup, is it's doing everything almost sort of in reverse a little bit as to how it's like you're seeing the photo stimulus, which like as you sort of said there, the photos, they can make you like they can be biased at times there because like you just got to pick your best photos, and like over time there things might change, or like might be the lighting, might be sort of the positioning and all that there. So I think like that there is really good, but it's almost like as I just said earlier, like you're doing everything in reverse. You're going from the seeing the stimulus being the video call last, or one of those portions there last, but you're focusing on the conversation and trying to build that connection there first.
Correct.
So yeah, I mean, like that, it's very, it's very interesting because I've never sort of heard one like that, and it's about and the ways how I'm sort of gathering it is the building of the connection, because obviously, as we spoke earlier, you can only build the connection through talking.
Yeah.
Like it's not ever. I mean, like you can build a connection through like texting and all that there, but like you'd have to be talking, but you have to be texting almost nearly what like every day for like hours, and because we're also time consumed and all that there, we just simply just don't have the time. But I think just with an average phone call, it becomes, you can obviously hear their voice, you can see how they sound, you can hear their mannerisms. I mean, like for me, I mean, at times there, I sound, a bit times, to use an Aussie slang term, a bit of a bogan at times, just because of the way as to how I talk at times. But that's just sort of me. Whereas other people there, they might, text a lot more conservative, but they might be a lot more or they might be a lot more loud. Like a friend of mine, the way how she texts with
Mhm.
full of energy. She texts, but when I'm on the phone with her, she's the most quietest person in the room. She is so quiet. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things there where I think finding the connection, it really, I think when you're doing it there through the phone, through the video, or not through video, through the voice call, it really does, I think, help us find ways to build more of a connection.
Yeah, but it's also like for everyone to be themselves. So I do think that when they are chatting to somebody live, not texting again,
Yeah.
it really makes you just comfortable as who you are, because you can't perform. You can't
Mm,
go through like, oh, like asking friends, what do I say? What do I say? Oh, does this text look right? Like you can't do that. Um, I did face a lot of like concerns in the beginning, like, oh, like people these days don't want to talk on the phone. They are too scared. And it is true at first, but I can see that it's just the first time. And then
mm,
after that, they start to be more comfortable. Um,
mhm.
because phone call is basically just talking. Like you talk to
Yes.
everybody, like you talk to people every day. So it's the same
Yes.
thing. But because you have this phone as a shield, you just feel like you have an option to hide behind, which is why
Yes.
they prefer texting. But we can only build real connection when you're being yourself.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I think you raised a lot of good points there, because I think one of them there is, asking friends, oh, what do you say? What should you say? And also there, like when you read a message, and when it stays on read, like you're trying to find the right perfect response to it. And whereas with a phone call, it's once you said it, you can't take it back. It's like unless which like you can't take what you said back. So it makes it a lot more authentic, a lot more personal, and all that there. So that's something there as to which, like, very I'm very intrigued about that there, and all that there. So yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to actually trying to see if I can maybe test out Reeve in 2026, and when it gets their release. But yeah, so as so what, so obviously there that you started, so obviously there that you obviously started it in, what was the process in order to actually get you to sort of start it? Because you said there in 2024, obviously, dating apps there, but what was that one, I won't say light bulb moment that just sort of said, you know what, this is the moment I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna start Reeve. I'm gonna pick it. This is this is my next adventure.
Right. I was on maternity leave, and so I had time, and I was. This might sound very cliche, but I was watching TV show Love is Blind on Netflix.
Oh,
Uh,
yes.
and then that's when a lot of people meet through the walls. They don't see each other, and then they really get to know each other before they have to propose to one another. And then they, reveal themselves.
Yeah.
I did really like the concept. I felt like, oh, like if I was able to meet someone through the walls and really learn about that person, yes, the look, I wouldn't say that like the looks is not important. It is important, but at least I can dial it down because I get to know the person on more important areas.
Mm,
So I really wanted that, and I wanted to provide the service, but that's like physically done on the TV show. And I wanted it to be more scalable. And so I was like, oh, maybe it can be a mobile like dating app. But it's a lot harder to make it into a dating app because it means that you need to keep them engaged, like for no visual like stimulus. It's really, really
yes.
hard. So that's why I
That
needed to
is.
go through a lot of process to modify and then make sure to keep users engaged throughout the whole process.
Yeah, like you sort of said that there because like that's actually one of the things there to which like I think I actually sort of said that to you when we first actually met about it. There is one thing there is like how are you able to sort of try and keep the people engaged because it's like that's something there as to which like unless there's like this visual stimulus because like, that's sort of what gets I think that is a bit of the lure. I'll say a little bit of the lure of, getting people to sort of keep going on, knowing that, like they'll be looking at a photo and they'll be sort of saying, oh, maybe this is my next wife, my next husband, or future wife, husband, future partner, or whatever. And I think that there is is a bit more, and I think that there's a stimulus there to sort of keep people going on. And I think I asked you that question, like what's going to sort of keep people sort of wanting to sort of come back to it, and all that there. But I think your way is a lot more better because like when you sort of said Love is Blind, I was actually that actually brought me to another sort of reality TV show. I think Married at First Sight, where you like I remember watching that back in 2014 or 13 back in like I haven't seen it an episode like since, but like one of the very first few seasons where you just sort of walk up and you're married on the first date and you haven't seen anyone, you can just decide whether or not to go through with the wedding or not. So like that was actually what I was actually thinking, oh maybe that was part of the inspiration, but you got their Love is Blind and yeah.
Yeah, and I talked about it with my friends, and they were like, "Why don't you just do it?" I was like, "Okay," and I just couldn't forget about it for the next like few days. So I was like, "Okay, let me do it."
So, so how did you then go from like how did you then go from there to the idea process to then going to um making it into like a physical app or into like a mobile app to then obviously close to release in 2026.
Right. And I think that's when my researcher habit comes in. Like I wouldn't take risk and just jump into making the app right away.
Yep.
I try to validate it like at the lowest cost. So I just invited my friends and then got their phone number and then made them call each other through my phone so they don't have the phone number.
Mm.
And then talk to each other for like 5 minutes, and then if they want it, then I would extend it to 30 minutes. And then it lasted for a few days, and then I had one couple meeting in person.
Oh wow.
So that was like, oh, people, that was the realization. It's like people are interested in talking to somebody for a long time.
Yeah.
and they are open to sharing their stories, and they're still interested in meeting in person, so they can form connection.
Mm,
It was, I could see that through TV show, but I wasn't sure if it was actually possible because
yes.
it, it's a
Editing
TV.
and all that. Yeah, because like with the editing, they have the lights, the glitz, the glamour, and all that there, and obviously, like, yeah, all that. Yeah, so I can completely understand that there. So,
Yeah.
but
So
yeah, go on. Oh, sorry,
so
go
that's
on.
how I first started, and then I needed to expand it from just my family and friends.
Hmm.
So I recruited people on online community, put them into Zoom room, like individually, made them talk to each other, gave them survey after, like, who do you want to meet after this, and then like got all the matches, and then scheduled the next day for them individually, put them to talk for 30 minutes, and again, like, and then video call. I think video call wasn't actually part of the picture in the beginning. I wanted it to
Okay,
be all surprise, but I could
okay,
see the reluctance from the users. Like, if they don't know anything, they didn't feel safe enough. They didn't feel like, why am I investing so much time? And there was
yeah,
a bit of a difference between two gender. There is, yes, men are more inclined to want to see the other person sooner.
yes,
So I needed to keep them hooked, and patient. And that's why I needed to introduce video chat at certain moments of their connection. So that's how we validated. And then people were, and I interviewed almost every single one of them who joined my experiment. And that's when I learned that they were hooked, because not because of the gaming side of it, like the gamification of like dating apps, or the visual stimulus of it. They were hooked because they just really enjoyed talking to somebody.
yes. Yes, I think like as you just said there, I mean, like my instant thought there was, I think you said this earlier, like a bit of speed dating, like as to how it's, you're just getting that surprise and all like that. And I think, just the talking, I think, especially here in Australia, like we all love a good yarn. I mean, like we all love a good talk. We all love talking with someone when the time's appropriate. I mean like if somebody sends me a text message at 11 o'clock at night and wants to actually text me and wants to talk to me at 11 o'clock at night, that's when I'd be then saying to them, yeah, no, sorry, I'll just leave that message for the next day and whatnot. But I think when the time is appropriate, when you're both in the mood to want to talk, I think that's sort of one of the things out of what a lot of people and what a lot of Australians, or me, or even me personally, like wants to just sort of have like those conversations. I know me personally, like that's part of the reason why I also did this podcast, is to have interesting conversations and also to talk about startups journey, but even just see where the conversation goes, because you never know where a conversation is going to lead. I mean,
Yeah.
like, you might sort of have like a common interest of saying that you both like, let's just say you both like K-pop, for example. But then, but then you might sort of then go off into sort of a movie, I mean, like you might go off into say like a movie, and then you then say, and someone might say, oh no, but the books are better, and then you both have a debate about it, and then you go to somewhere else. So I think that's where like the the differences in the conversation, that's where it can sort of lead, and that's sort of one of the beauty things about it there. And I think that's sort of something there as to how you can build connections um with people.
Yeah, I
And
really do believe that having that interaction, like conversation, is the first starting point of connection. You did mention speed dating. I did look into speed dating. Like, then why are people going to speed dating more? They are going more to those speed dating events, but the same issues still happen. Apparently, I haven't been to a speed dating event myself, but just based on stories, like there'll be like 20 girls and 20 like boys, let's say, and then you will scan everybody at first and decide, I want to talk to these people. So it's
yes.
always usually the, like, the most attractive ones who really do well out of it. And it's like, what's the difference between dating apps and this?
Yes, yes, that actually reminds me of an episode. I don't know if you've actually seen this TV show. It was actually one of my favorite shows. House, um, Doctor House with Hugh Laurie. There was an episode where House, Wilson, and Chase went on speed dating, and Chase, because he's also a doctor, he's made performed by Australian actor. Um, by an Australian actor. And he was actually, out of the three, he was the most good looking one of the three. And and House and Wilson had a bet. I think it was Wilson. I can't actually remember, but House had a bet with him saying, "Look, if you can be like a slob, or if you can like say, oh, look that you're nothing, or like make yourself look like by speaking unattractively to the women, let's see how many dates that you actually end up getting by the end of the day." And at the end of the speed dating, he still got the most, and and whatnot. So that there was actually, I believe that there was absolutely hilarious. And as soon as you just sort of said it there, it just brought me back to that moment, like where I just sort of was like, where I was just like going, yeah, yeah. Like, I actually remember that there from House, because I've never been to speed dating, but like
Mhm.
as soon as you said that there, I just was like, yeah, that takes me back to the show House when I remembered that.
Yeah, and that's the strongest, signal we get.
Exactly.
Funnily, that's how most sensitive part of our brain, or our, visual sense. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the right thing to look for, right? Like,
Mm.
things have changed, like our relationship, human evolution changed. Like, we don't need the best looking person as our partner. So we need to look at different things to find the right partner for you. And I don't think we are evolving the right way or waking up the right part of our brain to get that.
Yeah, I mean, like you raised an interesting point there, because I think like for someone, I think like just say me for example, I would rather someone there who can actually just sort of at times they can just match my energy. And I think that's what a lot of people there would want, is someone there who can match their energy, because like there are times there where, you know, you can talk like, you're a rabbit, um, rabbit saying go, like you can just talk a million miles an hour. But then there are days there where you just sort of like, no, I just don't want to talk. I'd rather just sort of just be content. This is nice. This is a nice view. This is nice. This here. And yeah, I think that's something there as to which, like I can say, for myself. But it's also when you're also trying to look for even like a founding partner, like in a business, like you need to know what your strengths are and what you're good at, but also to complement you, to sort of say,
Mhm.
okay, like I'm terrible with tech, like I can't code to save my life. So if I wanted to start, say, a tech business, okay, I've either got to find someone there who's good at tech, or someone who knows someone that can be able to get that can be able to code cheaply, or all that sort of stuff there, because I can't code to save my life. So I think that's where, you've got to know a bit more about yourself, but also know like what your weaknesses are, and or know what your strengths are, to sort of find someone there to be able to complement you, whether it's in dating or whether it's in business.
Yeah, so yes, you should know yourself first, but I think it's also hard to know who's gonna be a good partner for you. Like sometimes we say the opposite attract each other. Sometimes we say we need
Mm,
to find someone similar to us. Like there are so many different saying. Um,
yes.
it- I would say that people need to just go through it and just find out by just doing it.
Yeah.
Um, because my husband, like on paper, I never thought we would get along, but surprisingly, we do get along. So you
Yeah.
never know until you try.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that, as you sort of said it there, like people there where they're either too similar, or or the opposites attract. I think it's like there's this old saying, different strokes for different folks. Just because this one thing happened to you in one case, doesn't mean that you can go out and look for like a person of very similar things there, and this exact same thing will happen, because everyone has like their own clicks, their own mannerisms, and also, as you sort of said there, like you don't know whether or not you're going to get along or
Mm.
not at the same. So I think that's very, very. I think that there's very important. Either like both from a founder's point of view, and even just from a dating point of view as a whole.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people ask me, what's the algorithm that you have? I don't have any algorithm. It's just really based on some of the basic preference, like that is just non-negotiable, like, gender, age, and distance. Um,
Yep.
I want people to just go through other people and just have a 5 minute chat. That's not a lot of time. You're not wasting
Yep.
too much time, and just find out, do you click or not, and just
Okay.
explore. That's kind of my philosophy in
Mm.
human connection and building a relationship.
So how would you start a conversation then? Like, let's say if someone came up to you and said, May, I'm about to use your app, Reev. Sorry, I'm mispronouncing at times, Reev. Um, but with it seems like a very good app. I just when I'm it's just that, I put in the preferences. I'm about to match with someone. I just get nervous. I just don't know what would be a good icebreaker. What would be, I mean, or I've been talking with this person on a, or I'm about to go on a date or something there, an icebreaker. What would be if someone came up to you and just said to you like
Well,
that,
if
an
you don't
icebreaker?
know what to say, the icebreaker is there, of course. The
Yep.
icebreaker is something light that is fun, quirky. But I can tell you, once you have like maybe like 5 dates with 5 different people, you will know what to say. Like you would know, oh, this is the question that I need to ask, so then I can really understand, like, or bring this side of the other person, or show
Mm,
this side of me. You would understand better as you go, you experience through it. And that's what I'm hearing from my like beta user.
okay.
Because a lot of my beta users, not a lot, like some of my beta users didn't really have prior dating experience because they just never really get to have a date through dating apps. That's which is
Yes.
a common issue. Um,
Mm,
and on Reeve, they can actually talk to somebody, and it's like their first time talking to a potential date. So they
yes.
realize, oh, they had never done that. But so on the very first date, they were so nervous that they didn't know what to say. But
Mm,
on the second trial, he already knew that, oh,
mm,
I just need to be more relaxed. I could ask this question. That's
yes.
why he was coming back, because even if it doesn't work out, it's at least a practice. At least I'm gonna know
Yeah.
what I'm gonna say for the next ones.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that's, I think even just take this podcast for example. I think my very first episode, I mean, like, I don't, like, to be honest, I'm one of those people that if he doesn't go back and listen to his previous episode, like I just can't listen to my own voice at times. I like when I start talking, I will just sort of skip, or at least I'll just skip what I'm saying because I can't sort of listen to myself speak because I know that I'll either say the word or I'll talk too fast or whatnot. But as I'm starting to get better, I mean, I do hear people just sort of say that my speaking is getting better. But even when you go to say networking events like where we met at Open Coffee and whatnot, you go to like going up to a person there who after you sort of said who you are, what you do, and what you're looking for in regards to say the startup world or a business, it can be very, very daunting to go up to someone there and just sort of say, "Oh, hi, XYZ." But once you get the hang of it a few times, it becomes a lot better. So it's almost like that trial and error, whereas or just more times to be able to do it. But whereas with if you're texting, you have to sort of, it's almost like trial and error. Like you don't know what that type of person is going to say, or like what to say to that person and whatnot. So it's almost like you have to sort of trial so many different things. Um, just in order to sort of get that person to potentially respond.
Yeah, yeah. And because of that, you lose yourself because you get all this advice and tips, say this, and your response rate is going to get higher.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, like you just said it there yourself. I mean, like you're losing a bit of yourself because it's like you want, it's almost like you're making a deal with the devil at times there, where you want someone to respond, but you don't, but you want to also be your authentic self. So it's like, do you sort of, like that's sort of the ways how I think that you've got to, do you want to be authentic to yourself, but also get less responses, or do you want to get more responses? And that's
Yeah,
where I think I that's a bit of a flaw that I can sort of see.
yeah,
But in saying that as well, I mean, with the icebreakers and whatnot, I mean, I can definitely sort of see there where people will, for the first few times, get a hell of a lot nervous. But I can also see there where, um, you know, um, as they get better. And I think also as well as the projection or the way as to how it's been spoken is a lot different to the way as to how voices or to the way as to how you send a text message. I mean like for me, I like my friends now, they know the way how I talk is the way how I text at times. So like because I rarely put in a comma. So at so at times there where I then just sort of say to them, or like when I sort of say to them, oh, XYZ, ABC, but then I then go straight into the next part of the conversation. It literally just looks very, very unclean at times, but they know because like that's the way how I talk. Whereas at the top, whereas if you're talking, you can actually sort of get that feel, and you can actually sort of you can understand that more than if you were texting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that there's actually that there's actually the funny. So yeah, but so one last thing there on Reeve there before I sort of move off Reeve and whatnot. Oh oh bugger! I just lost my question. I just had the question there in my head because I was but um hopes for it. What do you, I mean, obviously everyone hopes that this that their business becomes a success and whatnot. But if we were to do an episode in 12 months' time and and I was to ask you 12 months' time or to say in 12 months' time, May, what's the goal for Reeve in the first from till September from January 1st till say September from when we do this episode recording in 12 months time, what would be your hope? Because a lot of founders, and I know this from personal experience and myself, where like you start to see the business as like your own baby. Like you start like it's your own. Like you want to make it your own, even if you don't own the business, but you've been part of the startup for so long. It is your baby. Like it is something there which you do want to succeed, but you also know it does take time. What would be something there in 12 months time that you'd be looking for when if we were to have a conversation in 12 months time about Reeve, and that you'd be sort of saying, I hope Reeve is at this stage.
Because we are planning to launch in January, in a
Mm-hmm.
year's time, I'm hoping that it does get stable with steady, uptake of users. Um, it's really the momentum is really important for social apps because the users are the assets. If there's no user, people will leave. So I need to have this steady growth. So hopefully in a year time, my goal is to have about like um, to move out of Sydney. So my first launch
Yep.
is in Sydney, going dense first, and then move out of Sydney, going to Melbourne, and hopefully be nationwide, Australia wide, achieving the density that I want, and hopefully get ready for another market.
Yeah, I mean, like that there, I think is I think as you said that stabilizing. I think that's something there as to which a lot of founders. That's something there as to which I don't think I don't think I personally have heard that, but through my experience, that's something there as to which what a lot of founders would want. They want it to stabilize because we know what it's like when you're doing a startup. The costs they go with each month that's going on, and if you're not getting the people they're using the app, especially as a social app, as you sort of said there, you need that buzz, you need that hype, or you need people there to be using it because they're that asset. Like I think a social app, obviously, take like your social medias, like your Facebook, your Instagrams. Without them, without the users, they're sort of like nothing. But
Yeah.
so they're using ways to sort of keep them on and all that sort of stuff there. But I think, as you said, they're stabilizing, being stable. That I think is one of the biggest hopes I believe
Yeah.
for like all founders. I think that's something that what they want to achieve.
I think it's the most critical thing for me because there have been quite a lot of good dating apps in the
Yes.
past, but they just couldn't succeed because they couldn't get enough users. So the execution to get the users, it's just so critical that I know that it's gonna be the toughest thing for me, and I need to get that right. So that's why my biggest hope is to stabilize.
Yeah, like you did say that yourself. I mean, like there's like tons of dating apps out there. I mean, like there was tons of dating apps, and like I remember when there was some there like in the past few years that have now just sort of been discontinued. but I actually really did like sort of some of the features that they provide, or the UI, or the
Mhm.
UI that they had. But then there just weren't enough people on there,
Yeah.
and it is sort of a bit of a shame because now when I look at it there from a startup's point of view, I look at it and I go, like, damn, it's a real shame because like these were genuine startups. These were people there that thought that they had something and they just couldn't get the users, or they just couldn't get the buzz that they wanted.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
No, no, no. I just know
Yeah.
that's the hardest thing. So,
Yeah.
um,
So now we're headed into towards the back end of the section there. So where I asked my current guest, who is yourself, May, to answer the question from my previous guest, which was Matt Ainsworth. Now, you and I, we both know Matt, and it's actually very funny because at the time of the recording, Matt and May's recordings were actually very, very close to each other there. So I actually said to you, May, I think I actually remember saying to you, May, that because it's going to be a couple of days after Matt's recording, I'm gonna try and email you as quickly as possible. And then you said to me, "Oh, I already know Matt's question," and I'm like, "Oh well," and I was like, "Oh, you're actually," and to be honest, you're actually the first guest who actually knows the question before me, which is actually a really good thing because I don't because every time I send out an email, I don't expect people to send me the question because I'm sort of one person that goes, see how the conversation goes. Because, like, for example, if I know what the question is going to be, then it sort of influences me to sort of go, okay, we got to sort of maybe steer around that so they can ask that question. Whereas if the conversation goes left, right, up, down, center, or backwards or whatnot, then they can ask a question for whatever they want. So then when you then said that, then I'm like going, oh, well, that's good. I don't have to ask. Don't have to send you the message, but I sent you the message anyway. But yeah, that's just something there as to which I think you're the first person that actually knows a question before.
researcher doing research.
Exactly. That's like, yeah. I mean, like, part of me was like, okay, yep, I should have known that with the researcher. But the question there from Matt was, along your startup journey, what is one of the awesome things about being an entrepreneur or a founder, and what is one of the most toughest things you had to deal with?
So, just to be clear, I didn't get the exact same question.
Oh well, that's the founder. Oh well, so he's given you, so he's throwing you a low ball. Okay, well, you can
Similar.
answer. Okay, well, if it's a similar question, that's a good thing. But
Yeah.
the way that's how I do it is I type the question as the way how he say it, as to
Right.
how he said it. So he might have worded it a little bit differently, but that's sort of
Yeah.
question there. So
Yeah. Well, so to answer the question, and it's not just because I'm working on Reev, which is about dating and human relationship, but I really think it's true that the best thing about being in a startup is um people. Like the community, like I how I met you and we're talking and we're just learning about each other and how everybody is so supportive. Just the passion that I am feeling, this is something that I didn't really feel in corporate.
mm,
um like even back in school, like people were doing things because they had to.
yes,
And in corporate, yes, some people were passionate about what they were doing, but it was very I would say transactional, I felt.
yes,
Whereas here, like people are not helping each other because they want to get something in return. It's just because they remember the hard time that they were going through, that they genuinely want to just return that favor. That's just so beautiful. And I just really want to do the same.
yeah.
And I feel beautiful thinking that way.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, exactly. I mean, like, that's just something there as to which, like, as you said there, um the people aspect. I mean, like Chris has always said to me, you build the relationships with people first, and you worry about the transactional stuff there later. But even going to the networking events, because the startup world is such a huge, it's such a I always say this here, and I think I've said this to you a number of times. I've said this a number of times on tons of episodes. it takes a certain type of person to be an entrepreneur. It does. It takes a certain person to even start a business, because you can go from either the nice, cozy 9 to 5 where you get paid, an income here in Australia. You also get paid super and all that sort of stuff there. But going off on your own and doing it or working at a start there, less funds, you could go for grueling 12-hour days and get nothing. But then work for 2 hours and you can get something. And I think that's where, you have people in your life that are in that startup world, and you can basically almost sort of say to and you can almost they can almost relate to you, like they relate to you, and they're wanting to help you, as you sort of said there, because they want to be supportive, because they want to help you, and they want to you know share their experiences, share their journey and all that. And I think also just because, like they're just great people as well, I mean, as well. So that's where I think it really does sort of help in that aspect there as well. So that's so that there, so like I honestly just couldn't, like, honestly, like that there, I can definitely relate to that. Second part on that question there, as a founder, what was one of the toughest things that you've found so far on your journey so far?
That's also along the same line,
Mm-hmm.
asking people for help. I
That's
find that the toughest. And I really don't want to do it, and it's not part of my culture asking people for help. But as a founder, you kind of have to.
yes, yes, exactly.
And so when I ask, I feel very uncomfortable. Like, oh, am I putting this person in a difficult position to say no?
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
yeah, I feel really, really uncomfortable. So, but I still have to do it. So that's still to this day the hardest thing.
Mm. Exactly. That's actually. I mean, for me, like I don't like asking my friends at times there for help. I even part of me sort of goes, oh look, it's a little bit of you could say ego a little bit, but part of me just sort of sees like it's like I a little, or you could call it pride, but I would like to sort of say it's more along the lines of I don't want them to just sort of think, oh look, the reason why he's asking me is because of, because my connections, or because of this XYZ ABC. So that's kind of what I don't like. That's what I don't like asking. And that's one of the toughest things. But I've also learned that and that's why I've always been of that, but and that's why Chris was always of that belief of me just sort of saying, look, if you ask a friend for help, they're more, they're gonna help. Like they're gonna want to help, not just because they're like, unless a friend thinks that they're using you, like that you're using them for connections or whatnot. That's very cynical. But if you can but if you build a relationship and go from that there, worry about all the other stuff there later. And I think there, when you ask someone for help, at times that you just, you won't be even asking them. It'll be like you're not even asking them. It's like just sort of saying, hey, look, I need XYZ. You can just mention, like I mentioned it at times there in passing conversations, like if you know anybody about XYZ and whatnot, I think I might have someone and all that there. And yeah, like that's it. Don't even have to bring it up again. So that's something there, so which like I can totally understand, not even just from a founder's point of view, but even just from a personal point of view, because like people just don't like asking at times for help, but at times you got to put your ego at the door.
Yeah, and that's why I keep reminding myself that whenever somebody is in need of help, then let me make it comfortable. That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, exactly. So like that's just something there as to which like I'm just like, okay, yep. I'm just like for me, like I'm always someone there that if someone like was to ask me for help and what, I always just sort of say, look, I'll see what I can do, because like I'm someone there that he always says to them, look, I can't make any promises, but I'll see what I can do. So it's more along the lines of keeping that. It's like, okay, almost like under promising, over delivering, sort of thing there, as that sort of way goes. But yeah, that's just yeah, like it really does sort of show. And I think this episode here sort of showcases just the personal side of what a founder is like. That we're all human, and that we all each have our own stories, and we each have things that we all want to sort of talk about and all that there. And that's like one of the beauties why I've actually made the shift to the startup world, because one, I get to have interesting conversations with the likes of yourself, but also I get to talk a bit about different conversations, but also I get to talk a bit about business as well, which I absolutely love.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I'm also trying to do.
Yeah. So May, so now we're at the point there where I ask you what will the question be for my next guest. So I'll let you ask I'll let you ask my next guest
Yeah.
their question.
Um, because Reeve is about, love, dating, relationship, but it all starts from loving yourself. So
Hmm.
I wanted to ask, what is the thing that you love most about yourself? But followed by, what are the downsides from that?
Oh, dude, that's actually a really good that's actually really good to be honest there, May, because yeah, I mean like I oh wow. You're giving me something there to think about as well. I mean, like, what would, oh,
I can give you my example.
yeah, go ahead. I probably won't be able to answer it until I get to the next episode, but until I get to the next recording. But yeah, like that's actually wow. Okay,
Because
go on.
I'm 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 very deep and slow.
Hmm.
And I can be deep because I'm slow, because I pay attention to little things, and because I'm slow, I am taking my moment to just always reflect and just ask why and why and why. And I'm enjoying that process. But at times, because I'm so slow, people around me get really frustrated.
Yes.
And I don't get jokes. Because there are lots of like fast banter and like jokes flying around. I'm like, huh? Like, what
Yeah.
did you just say? Or I would just go like answer at first degree, and I'm like, no, that was a joke.
Yeah, I mean, like that there, I think a lot of people there can sort of relate. There are times there where you can. I think it also depends on the type of person who sort of says the joke. I mean, like if they say it with a straight face, you can't actually tell if they're being serious or not. So that there, I like just that there, I've had some of those personal moments there myself where I can't get jokes, but yeah, yeah, that's that question. I'm really excited to sort of to actually hear what my next guest is
Yeah.
going to say, and yeah, I'm probably gonna have to say my answer there because that's actually gonna have to give me a little bit to think about for that question because you've actually put it in a really good spot there. That's actually a really good question, but
Because every
um
strength will bring some weakness.
yes, exactly. So that concludes this episode and this recording. So May, I would like to say thank you again for agreeing to come on, and I'll definitely have you back on either early 2026 or something like that there. Just just because like I know that you want it because I know that as you said there, you're market research. Would even love to even talk. I would have loved to have more of a conversation on that there as well. So would love to would love to have you back on there or even something there. But yeah, you're welcome back there anytime. Going to but we'll definitely have you back on either early 2026 or sometime later, but or hell maybe even late 2025. Who knows? But we'll, might even just be just before Reev launches. Might do a quick episode or something like that there. Who knows? But thanks again for agreeing to come on, May, and yeah, thanks again, and yeah, it was a pleasure having you, and it was a pleasure having this very good, interesting, engaging conversation, and like I thoroughly enjoyed every minute of it.
Thank you, Kieran. Me too.
Well, that there concludes the episode, and I'll see you all in the next one.